Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You've heard so much about me that I hope I really don't disappoint you in life and in person. Actually, I didn't know I did so much until I heard it. Trustees of the Nani A Palkhivala Trust, judges, ladies and gentlemen, I cannot begin to tell you how delighted I am to get this award, to receive the Nani A Palkhivala Award. Now, people will always say this at the beginning of a speech, and it sounds like a formality, but you won't realize how much I really admire, how much I really want this award, because the last award I got was in class 10 when I won the prize for biology. So now I'm looking forward to the next 50 years when somebody will think of giving me another prize. The citation has been very kind to me, and I think exaggerated some of the things that we do. I recall meeting a very holy man about a year and a half ago, and he was asking me about police reform. I go and talk all over the country to anybody who will listen to me about police reform. And he said to me, कितने साल हो गए जो आप पुलिस रिफॉर्म में काम कर रहे हैं? And I said, 12 साल हो गए हैं. And he looked at me and said, अभी कुछ नहीं हुआ? क्या कर रहे हो तुम? And I think that really sums it up. The striving, the effort, the energy that you have to put in. And sometimes you wake up in the morning and think you're absolutely wrong, you've got the wrong end of the stick, and it's really hard to go on. But as I said, the citation has been very kind to me, and I could not have done this much work or persevered for so long, and that is why this award means so much, because it recognizes perhaps not the success, but the perseverance of many people like myself. And for this, I have to thank my board for standing behind me at the Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative, and more than the board even, and I say this because I see many young people in the audience, more than the board, it is the very young, very committed, very hard-working young people who work with me. They slog day after day on something that many of their families don't understand or approve of, and certainly that public at large doesn't quite get. And yet they slog very, very hard and are a real inspiration to me. As you heard, I work on issues of access to justice, particularly through police reform and prison reform, in the belief, and access to information, in the belief that these two things, if they are improved, the participation of, informed participation of people in public life, in their development, in democracy, and the gateway to justice, which is so close just now, which is policing and being able to get a remedy for your right. If these things are put together, there will be no country to touch India and no people more contented than the Indian people. And I simply cannot understand why there is so much resistance to it. At the moment, there is some momentum gained for police reform. But I have to say, as I say to very often to people, that in the 12 years of effort, energy, not only mine, but all sorts of other organizations, including PCGT, the MKSS, the Human Rights Forum in Andhra Pradesh, PUCL, PUDR, all of these people who have been working in this area, despite their sustained efforts, the momentum really has come from catastrophic events such as 26/11. When you think about it, Mr. Kasab has done more for police reform than I have. And this is a bad thing. This is a bad thing. In the context of policing, we must not think of the cataclysmic event which happens once. We must think of the daily, everyday tragedies that overtake all sorts of extremely poor people who cannot reach out to justice. It is for them that we must work. It is the ordinary, everyday policing that has to get better. And this can only happen if there is a democratic policing for a democratic country. It doesn't mean only changing laws. Yes, indeed, I was part of the Model Police Act that the Government of India had asked to be developed. The act is okay, but it needs a lot of improvement. But that is not the issue. The issue is, even under today's laws, that policing must have a quality which it does not have today. And this is killing us. We have to stand up for it. Talking about standing up for things, we have to change the police. We have to change the whole dialogue from let us arm the police to let us change the police. Now, one of the other things that I am involved in is, and with CHRI, is that we champion the right to information. And you have heard Ms. Bharucha talking about the magic that it is weaving across the country. But that magic is being bought with people's lives, because there are people who are deeply resisting the idea of openness in government. And because they have so much invested in corruption, in favoritism, in bias, that there is a great deal of resistance. This morning I opened the papers only to see that a man called Satish, now look at me, I've forgotten his name. Satish Sethi, all of you know about it, you've read about it. Then we turned the page. But Mr. Shetty was a champion of right to information. 5 days ago in your own city, you read about Naina Katpalia of open spaces, whose house was entered and she was shot at. We cannot let this happen. While there are organizations who are doing the kind of work I am, the importance of this prize lies in the recognition by an institution that civil liberties is something worth supporting, and that civil liberties, the freedom to move around, the freedom to associate, the freedom to speak, the right to a fair trial, the right to protection, all of these belong to you, and that we must work for it. I'm sorry, I have to sound a slightly sour note when I say that the rich usually take civil liberties for granted. They have money, they have influence, they have reach. And the poor are too poor to demand their civil liberties. They know all about the law because the law oppresses them. But to do something about it requires people like you and me. That is why the burden of working for this must fall squarely on us, and we must do whatever it is that is needed. But the strange and wonderful fact about India is that it is indeed the poor who very often gather together, alone and apart, to work for civil liberties. India is lauded abroad for its civil liberties movements and for the organizations that it has created and for the civil liberties space that is available in India. But this work is often misunderstood. Government is often too restrictive, too uncooperative, closing spaces, asking for licenses, asking for every kind of constraining the space for civil liberties actors. What I say there is, please don't kill the messenger. We are not doing wrong. We are on the side of law. We are on the side of constitution. By the very work we do, we do not hold arms. We use the constitutional availability of all the remedies to take further the idea of India. So it is in this regard that I seek that we should be working many, many more